Hi, welcome to another edition of Easter Eggs, where we're looking at some things that kind of count us down toward Easter and some surprises, maybe, that we find in that Easter story. And so today I want to read to you out of Luke 23, verse 43. It is something that Jesus said on the cross when he uttered this line, "I tell you the truth, today you will be with me in paradise." If you try to picture the scene, it's it's brutal and it's crazy. And it's one of those scenes that if you ever really could get that image in your mind, you probably could never lose it. But the thought that here is a man who is dying on a cross, and that in the midst of dying on that cross is having conversations with the people around him. I mean, I don't know what you would be doing. I don't know what you would be thinking. I don't know what would be going through your head. Um, but there's just something that's almost surreal about that when you think about it. This particular conversation, obviously, if you're familiar with the story, takes place as Jesus is answering the request that is asked by thief number two, if you will. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. And then Jesus answers, "I'll tell you the truth, today you'll be with me in paradise." Um, that's crazy. And it is a story that, as Jesus responds, is loaded and full of grace. It reminds me of a story about some guys, a couple of prowlers that broke into a department store in a large city. They successfully entered the store, stayed long enough to do what they came to do, and escaped unnoticed. And what is unusual about the story is that they didn't steal anything. No merchandise was missing. As a matter of fact, no items were removed at all. What they did do was ridiculous. Instead of stealing anything, they just went through and changed the price tags on everything. In other words, the price tags had been switched. They had been changed. The values were changed. These clever pranksters took a tag off a $395 camera and stuck it on a $5 box of stationery. They took a $5.95 sticker on a paperback book and removed it and placed it on an outboard motor. They repriced everything in the store. And when you hear that story, you say, well, that's crazy. But the craziest part of the story took place the next morning. And you're not going to believe this, but the store opened up as usual. The employees went to work and customers began to shop, and the place functioned as normal for a few hours before anybody realized they had switched the price tags in the middle of the night. 4 hours. Now, some people got some great bargains. Others got fleeced. But for 4 solid hours, no one noticed that the values had been swapped. It's hard to believe, but it shouldn't be. Because the same thing happens in your life and my life each and every day. Someone has taken and somehow flipped our values upside down. Our values are messed up. Someone has broken into the store of our culture and changed all the price tags. What would make sense, what needs to make sense, what you might think something's worth, it doesn't work that way anymore. And what happens is, if we're not careful, we assign our value for ourselves based on the wrong criteria. It's in this jarring moment on the cross as Jesus is having this conversation with this guy who is also dying. And he says, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And then Jesus makes what is that outlandish promise. Today you're going to be with me in paradise. The guy doesn't deserve that. He's a thief. He brings no value to the kingdom. And yet, in the eyes of Jesus, who's going through the same thing in the same agony, he does. The value of that individual was enough to put Jesus on the cross. And the worth of that individual that was dying next to Jesus wasn't found in him, but it was found in the Savior who was dying on the cross. It flips our values upside down. We don't get what we deserve. Instead, we discover grace. And that is one of the great surprises of Easter. It's one of the Easter eggs that we find when you take a close look and slow down long enough and pay attention to the conversation that's happening in one of the darkest hours of history. It's a conversation that's full of hope. And we'll continue this look as we count down toward Easter and keep looking for Easter eggs next time.